I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Ask Rob and Rob. And yes, no surprises, it's Rob and Rob here to answer your questions again. Thank you to everyone who continues to ask questions. We really do appreciate it because it allows us to create this podcast and give you answers and hopefully give you loads of value too. And that's exactly what... what's his name, Rob? Top tip here, everyone. If you are going to leave us a message, please do leave your name, because this person left us a message but didn't leave their name, so we can't thank them. But whoever you are, you'll probably recognise your voice. Thank you very much, because it's a really good question. If you are going to leave a question with your name, then this is how you do it.
Yep, it depends whether you're on the move right now or you're at your desk. Either way, we've got you covered. If you're on the move and you want to ask us that question right now, all you have to do is type into your phone the following number: 013 808 000 35. That's 013 808 000 35. All you do is leave us a voicemail with your question and it'll wing its way by the magic of the internet over to us. Alternatively, if you're sitting at your desk and you're not sure where your phone is, like is normally the case with me, you might want to just use your computer instead. Not a problem. thepropertyhub.net/podcast is the place to go, and you'll see a link there to where you can record your message. So however you get your question to us, we would love to answer it. And we're going to answer a question right now. So let's have a listen.
Hi, Rob and Rob. Thank you for providing us with the podcast every single week. Much appreciated. The reason why I called to leave this message is because it's due to the petition, and I've got on my email referring to the government responding to your petition, and it has more or less everything that the government has responded to. Partly, most of it I don't quite understand. Perhaps maybe in one of your podcasts, if perhaps you could talk into more detail. I know you have done so in regards to how the current, what the current change will be like, and or how it will affect individuals in 2017. In regards to their response, could you perhaps in your podcast clarify it? I've read it through, but I'm still not familiar with some of the terminologies. But if you could, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. So you're asking about the response to the petition. Well, what petition and what's all this about? So for a bit of background, if you haven't been following this, George Osborne sprung a nasty little surprise on us back in the heady days of the summer of 2015. He announced that suddenly you're no longer going to be able to claim your mortgage interest as an expense when you're calculating your buy-to-let profit and therefore your tax. It's all a bit complicated to get into in full, but essentially everyone is going to be allowed to claim an allowance instead of their full mortgage cost. The upshot of the whole thing is two things. Firstly, it means that if you pay tax at the higher rate, you're going to be worse off. You're going to end up paying more tax, probably substantially more tax, than you were previously if you were using mortgages and if you are buying properties and holding them in your own name rather than a company. The second effect, which is the rather insidious one, is that magically your profit figure is going to grow. Even though nothing has changed, you're going to appear to make a higher profit. And that means that more people are going to become higher rate taxpayers, even though nothing has changed, and therefore get these wonderful effects that I just listed. That's what happened. That's why there was a petition, because it didn't seem very fair that we're running a business. All other businesses are allowed to deduct all their costs, including their financing costs, before arriving at their profits, and we, as property investors, are effectively being taxed on turnover. That's why there was a petition, and I imagine, Rob, that you're going to tell us that the government saw that we were very unhappy and decided to undo the whole thing.
No, unfortunately, 2016, the government has not changed. They don't listen. There was a petition. There still is a petition, actually. This is quite a timely question because the petition actually ends this month in January on the 27th. The petition went out and investors, landlords, started signing it in their droves. And actually, once 10,000 signatures were acquired, the government then had to respond. And they did. And that's really what this question is about, is what is the response? Well, unfortunately, the response is just a load of words that mean nothing. A lot like politicians often use. So what they've done is just justify their reason for introducing the taxes and really ignoring the points that the petition raised in the beginning. It didn't touch on how unfair it was. It didn't touch on how the gross rent then becomes your profit. All these really stupid things that have been introduced weren't even acknowledged. It just went on to waffle on about why the tax system's coming in, what it's going to be, and just repeating old ground, but just in a very wordy way. So no wonder you didn't understand it, because it's just waffle. Now, as we stand, the amount of signatures in place are approaching 40,000. If the petition had reached 100,000, which looks highly unlikely at this point, then the government would have had to debate it in Parliament. It sounds dramatic that they do that, but actually, I've watched one of the petitions that was debated in Parliament, and they're not all there and talking about it and deciding whether it should stand or not. It's merely just a discussion. Again, more words, not a lot of content, not a lot of action. So while the petition was something we supported, and I think it still was a good thing, because it's good to have our voice heard, and at least they know that they've angered a lot of people, unfortunately, nothing will come of it. So we know what's happening. We know that's not going to change now. So what can you do?
All right, well, there's a few things. First of all, we've put together a course which explains what's changing in more detail. So if you're not fully grasping what's going on here, it is complicated, and we give you a worked example of it as a part of this course. It's free, and we'll link to it in the show notes, thepropertyhub.net/property advice. Having done that, it's time to start planning. So there are things that you can do. In the course, we run through some various options, including moving your investments into a limited company or making future investments in a limited company, which is currently beyond the scope of the changes that are being made. We talk about that. We talk about some other courses of action. They all come with various drawbacks. There is no easy, off you go and do this and you're sorted. There are pros and cons to everything. So having educated yourself, I suggest you then go and speak to your accountant if you feel like you're going to be affected by this. When this was first announced, accountants seemed to be caught completely on the hop. A lot of them didn't, frankly, seem to even understand what it was that was happening. So people were having conversations with their accountants which were not particularly productive, and they were having to tell them what was going on, which is not what you really want. Hopefully by now, they are a little bit more clued up on the matter and will be able to give you some proper advice. And it is all very much dependent on your personal circumstances. It's really complex. It's not something that you can just answer on a podcast. So even though the changes aren't starting to come into effect until April 2017, it is time to start thinking about it, because if you're going to be making acquisitions within the next year, there could be very, very big differences in the amount of tax you pay, depending on how you acquire those properties. If you do those things, you will be in a vastly better position than the majority of landlords. Because if you think about it, this petition was signed by 40,000 people so far. How many landlords are there in the UK? I can't remember, frankly, but it is a lot. It is a lot more than 40,000. Does this mean that all the rest of them are absolutely fine with the changes that are coming into effect? I would suggest not. I would suggest that a lot of people don't even know that this is coming, and a lot of people will be caught on the hop by this. So by being the kind of person who educates yourself as things are happening, you're going to put yourself in a far better position. And there are going to be opportunities here. I mean, it's hard to put a gloss on this and pretend that this is good news. It's not. But there will be opportunities as a result. There will be a lot of people exiting the market as a result. That will create buying opportunities. So it's like absolutely anything in life and in business. Whenever there's change, there's opportunity. So now is the time to start thinking about this. It's not going to be going away, but you've got some time as well. So make sure that you are prepared so you can minimise the negative effects and make the most of the opportunities that do arise.
Okay, so tax. We've covered it before. We'll probably cover it again because it's always going to be topical. It's always going to be something that people want to understand. But hopefully that's a really good update for you on what happened with the petition, because as we say, it's closing soon, and what action you need to take. If you do like taking action, maybe you'll enjoy the summit. The Property Hub Summit is very close now. It's in February. We're doing 2 dates because the start of the year, people like to set themselves up and go forward for the year ahead. So we've decided to do 2 dates. If there are any places left, because we record this in advance, go to thepropertyhub.net/summit. Or if you're out and about and you're on your phone, don't worry, we've got you covered. Text the word summit, leave a space, and then your email to 88802. So that's summit, leave a space, put your email in, and then text it off to 88802. Normal rates, no fancy premium stuff here, and you'll get all the information you would need and want to make a decision on whether you want to join us on the summit. And to be fair, I couldn't see why you wouldn't.
Well, I very much hope we will see you there. I also hope that we will see you on Thursday, when we'll be back with another episode of the Property Podcast. Until then, well done. You've listened to 10 minutes of us talking about tax. Now go off and do something more fun. We'll see you on Thursday for another episode of the Property Podcast. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.